Welcome back to another Dungeon Coach, Dungeon Master breakdown of Curse of Strahd. This is session 31, and I am filming this in a very unique way because we actually finished Curse of Strahd, and I'm now filming these videos knowing that Strahd it's over already. That's crazy. That's wild. We ended the session on session 33. So this is session 31. How on earth do they kill Strahd between now and then? It's for you to decide and see in these videos. I'm going to be doing a huge video about how my players killed Strahd, but that's for another time. So short and minor spoilers for Curse of Strahd. If you haven't played the game, you're running the game, I'm going to be talking about how my players are going through and doing it, and overall some Dungeon Master tips and advice. Especially in this one, I have a brand new skill challenge, combat skill challenge that I've thrown in here. It's going to be good for DC 20. It's going to be good for D&D. I obviously played this in D&D. So let's get into it. So we picked this up. I also like to start off with like what I thought was going to happen and then what actually ended up happening. So what I thought was going to happen is they'd wrap up this town. They're in Vallaki. They have some downtime stuff to do. I thought they were going to be kind of done. Last session, they kind of did some downtime stuff. I thought they were going to be ready to head out. And I was going to attack them with a big giant tree and then they'd head out. But they wanted to kind of stay in the city. They had some stuff to do, some roleplay things, and it was cool. I really wanted to let them kind of breathe in the city and let them kind of relax some, because especially whenever you're running games, first little DM tip here, when you're running games that have this like oppressive feel, Strahd's watching you, the land's in danger, oh my gosh, it's nice sometimes to just let them kind of sit in good, successful moments, fun moments, relaxing, whatever, right? And they just did a great job saving Vallaki. They completely overthrew everything. They have a new mayor now. They've killed the burgomaster. Oh my gosh, right? But Lady Voctor, what's she gonna do? I was gonna have her escape. She has this little invisible imp that she can come and she's gonna get freed from the stocks and she's gonna escape and all these things. But where do my players head? Where do my players head? The first thing, this was very important. I said, all right, what is everybody doing? This first little block here. I try and block it out. And they're like, oh, you know what? Let's ransack Lady Voctor's house. And I was like, oh my gosh. My plan behind the scenes is anytime I give my players like, all right, what are you doing during this block? I have things that are happening in the world during that block. Unless there's legitimately nothing happening, but that's kind of lame. I try and find things that I can do in each block to see if they interact with it or not, or see if it slips through the cracks. So in this one, I had Lady Voctor escaping, and they happened to go to Lady Voctor's house. So she escaped from the stocks and ran back to her house, where the players then met her, saw her, and finished her off, we could say, and looted the whole house, checked the whole thing out. So they really got to engage with the missing story pieces, because as far as my players' take on Vallaki, it was very low. If I had like all the sliding scales of all the different things they could engage with, Lady Voctor was like almost non-existent. They had a meeting with her early on. They turned down a contract she gave them. They never really engaged with her. They engaged with so many other things. So there's a lot of story nuggets they never really got to explore. And in a very strange way, they really wanted to explore that. So they started exploring her house. They found out about her daughter that got turned into a little crazy person. All these different things they're just exploring and playing around with. So I didn't want to like rush them through that. I just wanted to like let them kind of sit in all the things they didn't figure out. So that was cool. It took a lot more time, but cool. And they wrapped that up, and then we go into the second block, and I kind of let them kind of adjust some things and kind of get ready to leave. And then the third block hit. And that's when the giant tree. So if you don't know, in Yester Hill, there's this massive tree that's brewing. And anytime, if you go to the winery in Curse of Strahd, if you go to the winery, it activates a timer. And I love clocks in TTRPGs, where once you trigger something, now there's a ticking clock that's ticking down until something happens. In this case, it is the tree awakening and running straight to the Blue Water Inn in Vallaki to destroy it. That's what was going to happen. Now, how do I issue this out? Is this a combat? I wanted this tree to be massive, but I didn't want it to be a combat because against the massive tree. And I was like, okay, we can have it. And they're only 8th level. So I was like, I don't really see them like taking down a gigantic tree. So I was like, okay, we're going to do a combat skill challenge. And we're going to have this represent a period of time where they're fighting off this massive tree from destroying the town that they just saved, right? So how this worked is it was a back and forth skill challenge. It felt like a combat, but it also felt like a skill challenge. Here's how I did it. So I set the stage of what's going on. Trees attacking the city, different little things and obstacles in their way. what are you guys doing? And depending on what you do is what happens on the tree's turn. We're going to go back and forth. You guys, me, back and forth. So they interacted with the problem. One of the bards was helping with the city and the people. The paladin charged in on their horse to try and start slashing through the base of the tree with his fire mace. The cleric saw someone in the center of the tree, and they wanted to fly over to kind of like see what was going on with this like body that was like impaled to the center of the tree. So they flew around with that. The rogue character shifted into a raven and starts picking up torches and dropping torches and fire onto the creature. So that was their first round. They made skill checks, and this is a skill challenge. They made skill checks. If they fail, something bad happens to the town, and it's just going to keep going through the town. This was not a skill challenge where, it's a certain amount of failures. No, every failure was going to destroy extra parts of the town, which is kind of the scary part. I said, you guys need a certain amount of successes. The number was 15 successes they needed to get in order to defeat this creature. That's a lot, right? I also have it be where if you beat the DC by 5, which is a rule from DC 20 that I stole and imported into D&D, every 5 you beat the DC by, you get another success point. So 15 might sound like a lot, but it's not as much if you consider that aspect of it. It's still a bunch, but you get the idea. So now they all made their checks for whatever they said that they did, and they had a certain amount of success points and 1 failure. The city of the wall crumbled and fell, and the trees now in the city just going to town, right? Now, it's my turn. So I now looked at what each of them did, and I make a roll based on that. So the paladin and the cleric got in range for them to be attacked, right? So the paladin specifically running around the base of the thing, I made an attack roll against the paladin for some massive damage. I think I dealt like something like 20 or 30 damage in a single hit, because this is not representing one hit. This is representing a span of time of a combat, maybe even like a minute's worth of like, rushing through, slashing, all this kind of stuff, a cinematic scene, right? It's not just this like, and that's what it represented, some 6-second window. This is a skill challenge. So the paladins charging around the tree, and they get rocked and they get hit, right? So some big damage came out. They got hurt. And then for the cleric, they go into the center and they try and find this person. They try and heal this person. And that person happens to be Louisa, one of their former players that had to leave the campaign because they moved in real life. They moved across the state, country, whatever. But their NPC player character now, the player character who's now kind of an NPC, was impaled to the chest unconscious. So the cleric rushes forward to heal, and they failed their skill check. So I described on the fly, I just came up with this out of nowhere. I described black necrotic energy comes and like a fog of mist comes out of the tree and starts to eat away at you, and you can't breathe. And then I had him make a Constitution saving throw for some damage. That's what the tree did. And I kept going through, and each person got a check based on what they did. I had the bard interacted with the town members. I rolled for the town members to see how well they responded to what the bard did, right? I thought that was an interesting thing. I was like, you know what? I want there to be a roll for everything. I don't want to just say something happens or people like avoid things. So I made a roll for the people to see if they can, a dexterity save to see if they can get out of the picture. And they saved it. Now, if they failed, certain people would have died. Maybe some NPCs might have died that they know and all that kind of stuff. So everybody had a roll. The Raven, he's flying through with these torches. I had to make a roll I made an attack roll at the Raven. Missed. He's a small little raven, whatever. It made sense. So then now we go into round 2, and you get the idea. That's how the whole picture works, where they each made checks to try and gain skill points. Then I got to have my revenge, and I went through and did a round on them, and we kept going back and forth. They were trying to get a number of successes. The city's burning. It was great. I loved it. And I can't wait to publicize and codify and get the system out to you guys. So that was super fun. They ended up destroying the tree. They redirected it away from the church and away from the things that it would have destroyed. And they brought the tree down, gaining a wine gem. And there's some really interesting stuff that happened with the wine gem. I have it be like a wild magic type gem that also summons a little plant person that's like a little assistant to you, or a little unseen servant type a little plant servant. So that was a little interesting twist I did on the winery gem. There's 3 gems. And then now they headed off to the winery because they found out through after the tree came a lot of the Mardukov family, the were-ravens. This was an extra little twist that I added to the game, is the were-ravens came back and they're like, Davian's gone. They've been captured. The druids captured him, and he's in Yesterhill. Now, if you don't know, Davian is their fated ally. In Curse of Strahd, you have a fated ally that is going to be like the person that's going to help them fight Strahd. Theirs is Davian, the leader of the Were-Ravens, right? So he is at Yester Hill, and guess what's also at Yester Hill? The holy symbol of Ravenkind. So I have combined all of those things together, where the Druids, this is also a homebrew slant. This is not spoilers. This is me just making stuff up. The Druids of Yester Hill are at the hill. What are they doing now? The tree has gone to destroy some stuff, but in the tree's absence now, they have been tasked to destroy the holy symbol of Ravenkind. And in my homebrew world as well, the holy symbol of Ravenkind is from a nature deity who is where ravens come from. The Were-Ravens curse comes from a deity that has granted them this curse. It's not some sort of like twisted, weird, like, oh no, this is a curse and they're stuck with it. This Were-Raven thing was a good deity that created a curse of Were-Ravens to be able to try and combat the werewolves and the vampires and all this other stuff. Because Were-Ravens, they're stronger than normal. You have extra abilities, right? So the holy symbol of Ravenkind was trying to be destroyed. And if the holy symbol of Ravenkind is destroyed, then all Were-Ravens lose their Were-Raven abilities. They're all turned back into normal humans, and they're a lot less dangerous to the bad guys, right? So, because all Were-Ravens in Curse Strahd setting are good, right? You get the idea. So, or at least against Strahd, you get the idea. So the holy symbol of Ravenkind is needing to be destroyed, but they have captured Davian, his daughter, and his grandson are all trapped, and they are going to be sacrificed, and the life essence of their sacrifice is going to be what's used to destroy the holy symbol of Ravenkind, one of the 3 artifacts of Curse of Strahd. That's where they got to go to next. They're off onto the adventure. See next time what actually goes down. So stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.